Hey everybody, Joseph Rothschild here, aka MBT. I am back from YCS Niagara, and now I hate Yu-Gi-Oh! There are a significant amount of unfair cards in the game and no understanding of when those cards will be hit. And as a result, today I want to talk about something that's not Yu-Gi-Oh! We're going to be talking about Magic the Gathering, the largest card game in the world, and what their company, management, and game does differently that Yu-Gi-Oh! Can and should emulate. I posed this question to you. Let's see what you came up with. The card I picked for this is Baneslayer Angel. This card is a type of card that just doesn't exist in Yu-Gi-Oh! It's an alphabet soup type card. It's just got a ton of different keywords on it that make it really, really powerful. Flying, First Strike, Lifelink, Protection from Demons and Dragons all mean very specific things to Magic the Gathering players. But in Yu-Gi-Oh! We have, I think, one keyword: piercing. Draft formats. Yes, that is absolutely the right take. Official draft formats and sets to support them are so sorely missing from Yu-Gi-Oh! And would benefit the game and the community in a myriad of ways beyond just an alternative format, reprints for format staples and such. Battle Pack 3 was such a cool historic format, and I wish that they had just continued to develop products like that instead of throwing it out with the bathwater. Actual monetary prizes might be nice. That's not a Yu-Gi-Oh! Problem. Actually supporting multiple formats and not just saying they support them and doing nothing with them. So Magic the Gathering had a very popular fan format that existed called Elder Dragon Highlander, or Commander. They standardized it, and now it is like their top selling product. I think more players play Commander than Standard at this point. Konami, inversely, realized there was a lot of people who wanted to play alt formats in Time Wizard, who wanted to try out Deckmaster, an equivalent to Commander, who wanted to play a Pauper style event like Common Charity, so they released guidelines for these and then never ran any events for them in the United States or supported them in any way. I hate endorsing this because secret layers have just become basically monopolizing on people's gambling addictions at this time. Whoa, you don't want to miss this and it'll be gone forever. But it would be very funny if we got, like, the Metal Gear Solid set. Pick up and playability. I hate agreeing with CJ Alex in these, but absolutely correct. In Magic the Gathering, if you've never played a deck before and your buddy hands you a deck, you can just have fun playing on curve. True for most standard formats and some eternal formats even. In Yu-Gi-Oh!, if you do not spend an hour reading through every card, watching a YouTube replay, or doing test hands, you just cannot play at all. This is a problem I have with one-take testing. Without devoting 4 or 5 hours to a deck, there's really no way I can give it an honest shake, which means you're just going to be missing huge portions of the game that have been developed. Flavor and story. Yeah, this is another good one. Individual Magic the Gathering cards occasionally tell a story on them. This card has no effect. It is a 4/3 for 4. The flavor text explains what's going on. Does any Yu-Gi-Oh! Lore hit harder than Ogre Resistor? Check this out. Intentional draws. Joshua Schmidt is 100% correct here. Judges in Yu-Gi-Oh! Have trouble preventing people from illegally drawing in the last couple of rounds, and just straight up allowing them saves a lot of stress and time in a tournament while only slightly impacting the record you need for topping. So, people dislike intentional draws because it feels unsportsmanlike, can push people on the bubble out. But if you are on the bubble, you are not guaranteed a slot anyway. And though it is against REL to intentionally draw, it is a well-known practice. I would never condone it and do not think you should, especially in a competitive tournament setting. But making it legal means that we don't have to spend a lot of time hunting around to find out if someone's draw with their opponent was actually both of them playing to the best of their ability, or if they just decided before the game started. What's your Kashi ID, by the way? Having an online simulator that is up to date with the card pool. Detailed explanations for banning and regular updates on WotC's thoughts on the health of the format. Yu-Gi-Oh! Tried this once with a ban list and never again. The difference in communication with the player base between Konami and WotC is like night and day. It's actually shocking. When Wizards of the Coast will ban a card from a format, they'll explain why they did it and what they are trying to prevent, what their ideological goals are for the outcome of the format, like what they expect the best decks to be and why they expect that to be more fun than the alternative.
I want to talk you through not only some changes to Pauper that we have unanimously agreed on, but also what we think about where the format is right now.
The one in which Yu-Gi-Oh! Did this was the ban list that limited a whole bunch of plant synchro tools right before, like, Wind Up, Insector, Dino Rabbit format. And for that reason, it was so laughably incorrect that everyone made fun of them and they never did it again. Foreign cards in sanctioned play. Absolutely correct. However, you can use foreign cards in sanctioned play. You just can't use OCG ones because of a non-standard card back. that still strikes me as not particularly relevant. High-level gameplay presentation. This is a bit of an older example, but recently watching Tarkir Block Worlds VODs, having multiple games on deck for the feature led to lulls in gameplay easily filled. Absolutely correct. Usually what Magic the Gathering will do during coverage is they will bring like 4 people up to play, and then when one match concludes, they just pivot over to the next one. It's so much better than just a 30-minute mindfest, followed by just complete silence on screen. Magic the Gathering has kind of been the gold standard for like card game presentations forever though, and they continue to set the bar very high. Magic's standard format rotates every so often. I think Yu-Gi-Oh! Could benefit from adding an additional format that rotates after a few new sets come out. Some of the worst commons and supers in Booster actually have uses in the decks that format and restrict old staples. I'm not going to have the set rotation argument here. I am obviously in favor of it, but at the very minimum, including an additional format in which set rotation is abided would be extremely good for Yu-Gi-Oh! The most important difference, though, is packs would have to be designed with set rotation in mind, and that's easier said than done if you've never done it before. I've always appreciated the color wheel and multicolor guilds. Gives you a good idea of what you're against while providing some sort of color loyalty for players. This is a really cool road to go down. So even if you have no idea what your opponent's deck is doing, just by knowing the colors that they're playing, you can kind of gather some information, so you're never truly playing in the dark. Frequently in Yu-Gi-Oh!, knowing what your opponent is doing means you have watched a 10-minute testing on their terrible rogue deck. There's no way to kind of intuit what your opponent is up to. Surely I can tell what a generator does. Yeah. If you activate boss stage, nothing you do is going to prepare your opponent for what happens next. Pro Tours in Magic the Gathering are 15 rounds of Swiss with a cut to top 8. And then 6 of the Swiss rounds are draft. In Yu-Gi-Oh!, we do like 8 rounds of Swiss with a cut to like 128. It makes a significant portion of our high-level events single elim, which feels terrible. Maybe you run into a bad matchup in the hugely wide top cut, and as a result, you are just removed from contention way earlier than otherwise. I really think I would prefer more Swiss rounds to more top cut rounds, but I could be in the minority because I know a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh! Players hate playing Yu-Gi-Oh! More joke cards. Actually disagree. Yu-Gi-Oh! Has a ton of joke cards. Linear Equation Ken, yeah, good example. Font size. Andreas, 100% correct. The font on Yu-Gi-Oh! Cards has been just shrunk down to a minuscule size to force it all on there. But if they put it up a couple of points, it would be so much better. I hate doing this shit to my opponent's cards. I don't like doing it. Accessibility, absolutely correct. Structure and starter decks are regularly released, even for various formats. They are releasing pre-constructed decks modeled after ones played at the competitive level. Not only does Magic do this well, Pokemon does it incredibly well. You can purchase the winner of Worlds' deck like every year. In Yu-Gi-Oh!, our new player experience is a deck full of singletons that you can occasionally buy 3 of and mostly lose to meta. The new player onboarding experience for Yu-Gi-Oh! Just straight up doesn't exist. I've actually seen this a ton on here, is cards that don't have a limit on how many copies you can run in a deck. Lot of jank-brained weirdos. So that seems to be about it. I hope to see some of these things introduced into Yu-Gi-Oh! In the coming years, and I do have hope that we will see a couple of them. Tune in next week when we'll explain what Yu-Gi-Oh! Does better than Magic, and we can see the opposite group of individuals on my Twitter very, very mad. Well, the number one thing that Magic the Gathering doesn't have that Yu-Gi-Oh! Does is Eldritch's fat golden ass, so I know where I'm staying. In his lap.